Copenhagen, Occupy Wall Street taking place here. I just spotted you, and I'd like to know, maybe you can tell the people on the TV Gaderumet, the Street Space TV station in Copenhagen, and on the YouTube. We'd like to just, maybe you can just tell what you're doing here and what's on your mind.
What I'm doing here, I'm here because I support Occupy. First I heard about Wall Street, about Occupy Wall Street. And then I checked, of course there has to be something in Copenhagen, at least. I know it's gonna be small, but I'm gonna participate anyways. And I came here most of all because I support the fact that the system is fucked up. Like it can't be true that some people have $60 billion, and some people can't afford food, and that water is for everybody, Water is once you control water, once you can buy and sell water, that means that once you control water, you control the whole population. Because water, 3 days without drinking water and you die. So if you control, if you can buy water, then you can buy someone's life. And I don't. That's fucked up. That's what's wrong with this system. You can buy lives, and life. People say, oh, from Disney movies, everything. Life is way more important than money. That's what everybody says, but that's not how the system works.
So what can you do about it?
What can you do about it? You can sit here, and you can hope that more and more people will open their eyes to how the world really works.
Hey, aren't the banks a part of this terrible system of money and power?
Of course.
So what about the banks? Do you have any solutions to how to take the power from the banks and put it somewhere else?
Maybe I heard on Wall Street they made a local bank.
Right. Okay.
They made a bank where the bank is a non-profit bank, completely non-profit. It's just a bank to keep your money.
Right.
And that's how banks should work,
I happen to have my money in something in Danish called Fælleskassen. It's a common bank. It's a local bank. It's a very small bank. It's an alternative bank. They have no they don't operate with interest. There's no interest rates.
That's nice.
It's and they use their money. The money that you put into the banks is used to put into alternative projects that are supporting the alternative ways and better lifestyles.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the kind of idea. But so, do you have you put your money into an alternative bank?
Of course, I work. I haven't done that. Okay. I don't know how to do it. I didn't know there was such a thing in Denmark.
In Denmark there is, right. Fælleskassen is one idea. But
I'll check it out then. Yeah.
Right. And then there's something completely new on the internet. There's something called the Bitcoin. And our TV station has just a little while ago made a broadcast that takes an hour and a half, 3 times a half hour, and it's on YouTube, and it's called the Fuck the Banksters, Join the Bitcoin Revolution. So if you go onto YouTube and you search these words, you'll find it. Anyway, the whole idea is that instead of paying money to the banks for transferring money, all you have to do is join the Bitcoin revolution, and on the internet, just like you send an email, you send money anywhere in the world. Right now, it's a bit difficult for common people like you and me. I'm waiting maybe half a year or a year before I'll start doing it, because I need a simpler system than the Bitcoin right now. So, but anyway, there are a lot of people working on this. Alternatives, right? Are you going to stay in Denmark for a while?
No, I plan to finish my school here, go to gymnasium, and then I plan to leave because I don't like this place.
You don't like Denmark?
No, I think.
What's wrong with
it? Denmark is one of the places where people have been mind washed the most.
Okay.
Yeah, I think where people, at least look how small we are compared to Occupy Wall Street. Occupy Wall Street is thousands.
They were bigger here when they started. They were much bigger, and it's getting cold.
Yeah, now it's getting cold. Yeah, and people are giving up. But it's important to stay strong. Yeah.
Right. It is.
Stay strong through the winter. Right. And it's also, but people here they're completely mind washed. Everything they follow the system so much. This is a country where I think the system has really taken over people's minds.
Okay.
Yeah.
But as the financial crisis, the economic crisis, every kind of crisis you can think of takes hold of the countries around the world and everything. Don't you think people will get their thing together?
Yeah, I think so. But Denmark is a place. That's why the system has taken so, because everyone has a good life. Okay, not everyone. Of course, there are homeless people, but like a big percentage, like 99%, have a good life.
This is the TV homeless station.
Yeah. Okay, they can come home, yeah?
Yeah.
They can come home, put their TV, put a warm so it's warm in the room, eat 3 meals a day, everything, yeah? So they don't notice that something is going wrong. They don't know, they can't even imagine not having money enough for food. They can't imagine that. It's like you can't imagine the distance from here to the moon.
I completely agree with you.
But
95% of the population is not really attuned to the serious problems of the world and empathy for other people.
That's true. So. Now you see here limousines. Look, more people are looking at the limousines than are looking at Occupy Copenhagen.
What we have to realize, I think, before anything else, is the problems with the central banks. Right. The central banks are basically private organizations. If you look at the Danish National Bank, it says on the website it's an independent organization. The American Federal Reserve is an independent organization.
That's the 1%, less than 1%.
So it's run by people outside political control. So I mean, us as people have no influence at all over what happens in those central banks.
The 99% have to do something about that.
And you have to look into the central bank system, because someone has actually got the monopoly to print money out of nothing and then lend it out to banks and other people at interest. Yeah, that has got to be the most unfair system ever thought of, I think. If you think about that, somebody can sit and buy themselves
and just as much money as he wants,
and then they get interest from lending out that money that they haven't done anything to work for. They haven't earned it. They don't own it.
It's a printing machine. It's a printing.
So we have to come to terms with the central banks to understand how crooked really the whole banking system is. And I think some of these people on Wall Street is interesting, because they're sort of targeting the problem towards the banks that we know, the big international banks, and they are of course a huge part of the problem. But we have to take it one step further and say, where do they get their money from? They get their money from the central banks. So if you want to have a mortgage, if you lost your house or whatever because of the crisis, you can't go to the central bank and get free money at 0%. But the large international banks, they go all the time and get billions and billions of dollars at 0%. So we have to realize how crooked the system is. And of course, the simple solution is, why do we have central banks to print money, and then the governments have to pay interest on that money? If the governments print their own money, there will be no interest. So when people start realizing how the banksters actually took over our governments and got the monopoly to print the money, we can just change the system, take the rights back to print the money, print the government's money, and we don't have to pay the interest, because most of our taxes go to support the interest on the debt in almost any country you look at it today. And look at Greece is a typical example of a country where it goes over the cliff. And the whole Western world is being pushed in the same direction.
Hey, do you believe that I've heard that these banks, they deliberately seduce as many people as possible into taking loans that they never can repay. And then they get a debt. They get debt slavery, debt serfdom, as some people call it. And when they are in total debt to the banks, then their house, even all of Greece, everything can be confiscated. The corporations can totally own Greece and do any fascist thing they want with the whole country. That might even happen if things get, they look way out in the distance. It looked like even in Denmark could get into some situation like that if it isn't stopped.
But this is the basis of the whole system. If you look at the world today, everybody is in debt. Every person has debt, with mortgages, with cars and everything else. Every single company has debt. They go to the bank and borrow money, have a lot of debt to run the business, and every single government is in debt. How can that be? If you think about it, if there was a fair system, there would be as much debt as there would be assets. but there isn't. Why is that? That's because the central bank prints the money. There's nothing to back that money. They print more and more money, and the interest, just as you're explaining, is to push that money out to the people because they have the money and they don't pay anything for that money. It's just something they create. So the more they can get people to take their loans, look at the crisis in America or all over the world with the housing crisis. For 5-10 years, they're pushing loans out to anybody who'll sign a piece of paper, whether they have jobs.
And they do it deliberately.
They do it deliberately because we have been indoctrinated to think that the money system is something where somebody gets something and somebody pays something, and it's a one-on-one transaction.
Right.
We haven't been told the whole story, which is it's not a transaction. It's somebody pushing debt out to the people so that people are basically enslaved by the debt. Take the student loans in America.
Yeah, the college loans.
Everybody comes out of college with a huge debt.
Yeah.
When I went to college, we had no debt when we came out of college. We had to do our work in the summertime, or we had weekend jobs. But now people come out.
We're old enough to be. We were lucky. We were lucky.
We're lucky.
Yeah,
How do you come out
You're
of
young
college?
and actually quite vulnerable.
You come out of college with a huge debt and no job. You know, how can that be a good system? Why is that? That's because the government has taken over education. There's no free education. There's no competition. Everything is just pushed up because the idea is to get people into debt. Because when we're in debt, we have to go to work every day. We have to pay our taxes. We have to pay our interest. And we're basically easy to control.
Okay, we've got to wrap this up. We've been doing a lot of good talking here. You guys, absolutely great. Hey, what's a good conclusion on this? What are we going to do? In a few minutes we'll say goodbye to each other, and what are we going to think about until the next time we meet here, next Saturday?
I think we have to do exactly what we're doing here. We have to educate people.
Yeah, we have to spread the message.
As long as people don't understand the system they're living in, there's nothing we can do.
So we have to keep talking, discussing these things, and
we have to
trying
discuss with anybody who wants to discuss it. But we have to do it peacefully. We can't push it on people. You can't go out there in the middle of Stroy and
we'll be shot or run down or stabbed.
No, but not so much that. I think from a compassion or a conscience point of view. You know, it's not fair to push things on people they're not ready to hear. Who am I to go and spoil their day for them? That wouldn't be love. You know, they deserve their day in the sun. I think, and I'm happy for them.
I'm almost tempted to give you a kiss, but
we can go hug.
Okay, you'll get a hug instead. Okay. Hey.
Yeah, you too.
Hey,
So
thanks
keep
a lot,
doing what
guys.
you're doing.
Okay.
Okay.
Keep it up.
We're spreading the message right
We are.
here. Yeah,
Right.
it's good stuff.
See you. Okay. Looks like TV Gaderummet is right here on the town hall square of Copenhagen. This is the Occupation Copenhagen, and A lot of people popping up today. It's great. And there's a guy here right in front of me. What's your name, by the way?
Jesper.
Jesper. Okay, Jesper. You're kind of an activist here, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you can tell the people here from Copenhagen TV station Street Space and the world, because we're on YouTube. And we'd like to get a kind of a message to the world from Copenhagen at least once a week. So and we did an hour and a half that's already on the YouTube from Saturday.
Okay.
And if we could just get a half hour today, we'd be very happy. Yeah. So please tell me what is on your mind. What do you think is the most important thing going on right now, or what do you like the best or don't like the best, or whatever?
I think the best thing about this movement is global. From its start, it's been inspiration from Cairo, from Greece, from Spain, from Wall Street, and all these inspiration are like floating together and inspire millions and millions of people all over the world. And I think there's two main reasons why people are here. Of course, people have all the different reasons to be here, but I think there are two main reasons. The revolutions in the Middle East and the resistance against the cut downs all over the world is one thing, but also the economic crisis. I think people are scared. People are scared of losing their jobs. People are scared of getting poor. Their children will have a harder life. Many think that their children will have a harder life than themselves. And all these things are these two combined. These two things, revolutions and being afraid for the future. These two things are coming together in this movement.
Are you yourself afraid?
Yeah, right now I'm unemployed, and the possibility to get a job is getting harder and harder, also in Denmark.
Hey, maybe you noticed on the media that some people are already talking about civil war in Greece, getting very close to it. Do you think that could happen in a place? Denmark is very economically well situated for the time being. Do you think it could ever look like Greece?
Yeah, I think so. But I will not call it civil war. I will call it class war, class struggle. The class struggle in Greece have been in a very high momentum for a very long time. But the cut downs are getting harder and harder. So of course the resistance is also getting harder. But I think we need to walk a lot of steps to get to a position as Greece are now. We are not there yet. Not yet.
Hey, have you ever heard of this guy called Max Kaiser, who is broadcasting on Russia Today and on Press TV?
I heard about Russia Today.
He's 3 half-hour programs on a week from Russia Today, and 1 half-hour from Press TV every single week.
Okay.
Personally, I think he's fabulous. He's absolutely fantastic. And the latest thing that he's doing a real analysis of the banks and the scandalous fraud banks that are just ripping countries off. I mean, the banks in Greece are occupying and ripping all of the political sovereignty of Greece is disappearing because they're going and they're just ripping off all real value in the country. And what is his strategy? As maybe you've heard of his strategy. As latest is to the governments of the world of the various countries should take over the banks, and make sure that the people who are causing this are becoming accountable for what they are doing, and then to restructure the banks completely. And the most important thing here, according to what if I've understood it right, he's very difficult to understand sometimes for me, and that is to make sure that the citizens are not paying the bills that the bankers, the banksters had caused. Actually, the Saturday last week, there were some people here that said they went to the Danish Federal Bank, or the National Bank.
Yeah, I was part of them.
Did you go there?
Yeah, in the demonstration.
What happened? Were there 5 people going there, or 50, or what?
Around 200, I think.
200.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot.
But the bank was closed. But the anger is here. The anger is here. But I think we have to be quite clear that this is not only the bankers. The banks are, of course, these rich scumbags are getting billions and billions of euros and dollars bailed out, taken from you and me and every normal person, taken from our welfare systems. But it's not only the bankers. The system, the capitalist system is in crisis, in a deep crisis, the deepest crisis since the 30s, maybe even deeper. So it's not enough to nationalize the banks, I think, because that's of course I would say
you don't want to nationalize the debt so that the citizens have to pay for the debt. You have to nationalize them and make sure that the citizens don't pay for that.
Of course, I would like that demand. We should rise that demand. But I think this system in general, because this system is more than banks. It's these. For example, this building is Danish industry. The building for Danish industry. It's very powerful companies ripping the wealth of the world in their pockets, causing wars in the Middle East. All these things, and this is more than the banks. It's a system. The system is sick, and we have to get rid of it.
Okay. The political system must be changed. But now you also mentioned wars. Wars, I haven't seen a lot of attention played to wars as a part of this Saturday and then today. I don't see so many signs on that. Get out of the wars, completely. But is this something that's going to happen, do you think?
I hope, because that's actually quite important, because if we are going to unite our struggle with the people in the Middle East, the people in Afghanistan, the people in Africa, we have to say our enemy is at home. Our enemy is not in the Middle East. Our enemy is at home. It's the people in the power who are sending tanks and bombs in the head of normal people in the Middle East. They are our comrades.
Hey, you're Danish.
Yeah.
Right? And isn't there the General Secretary of NATO, isn't he a Dane? Sometimes he should be criticized. Maybe he's even a war criminal.
He is. He has blood on his hands.
He must have.
This war in Iraq. He was part of the Danish. He was organizing the Danish war in Iraq, and they have blood on their hands. They've caused millions of people fled to neighbor countries. But hundreds of thousands of people are dead in this war, and the crisis in Iraq, in Afghanistan, is continuing. They're saying now the war in Iraq is over. It's bullshit. They have big troop bases with troops in Iraq. The war is continuing. It's continuing, and also in Libya. What did they said? Oh, Gaddafi is a war criminal. Yeah, maybe. But in London, in Washington, in Paris, all these people, they sold the weapons to Gaddafi. And it's the same story with Saddam Hussein, Taliban, and so on.
Hey, the UN resolution that the whole Danish Parliament also voted for, permitting NATO to go into Libya and in a so-called no-fly zone. This did, as I understood, that it did not include regime change, but it is now a complete obvious to everybody on the planet that was the purpose of the whole bloody thing anyway, so that was an illegal war too.
Yeah.
And then Gaddafi has been murdered. I've heard that the guy was shot and alive. He was dragged through the streets naked, his body, and then this, I heard this from this guy George Galloway on Press TV, and he was the what do you call it? The NT, the National Transitional Council. The rebels, the revolutionaries, they promised that he would have a fair trial in the country, or have a trial at all. And internationally, he was also promised to get a trial. There was even a court order arrest from the International Criminal Court. None of this has happened. The man has been bloodily slaughtered, executed. I don't even know if you can call it execution because that's kind of a legal term. He was murdered brutally by a mob.
After France plane bombed the convoy he was in, and I think the rulers in the West, they clapped their hands. They said, "Oh, fantastic!" We killed.
Did you hear a Hillary clip? Saw on television, everything. If I remember correctly, she said something like, "We came, we saw, Gaddafi died." You know, it's like it's a kind of parody or a caricature of Clint Eastwood, coming along. The bad, ugly, and the beautiful.
The reason why they clapped their hands, because if he went to trial, he would tell the world that who sold him the weapons, who was all his friends, noble friends all over the world. It's our rulers. Our rulers. They kept Gaddafi in power. They kept Mubarak in power. They keep Israel in power, and they don't want these things out. So they are very happy he's dead now, because then he's not there to tell the truth.
Yeah, and then they opt the thing. They try to take over the thing, like with Mubarak, right? They kept him in power as long as possible.
Yeah.
When it was impossible to keep him in power anymore, then they act like they're supporting a revolutionary.
It's their intervention.
Hypocrisy and double standards.
I think it's very important for us to understand that the war in Libya is, of course, it's about oil. It's always about oil in the Middle East, but more important, it's their intervention in the Arab Spring. They wanted, try to think, Libya is between Tunisia here, Egypt there, and they wanted like a stepping stone in between these revolutions, because they are very afraid of these revolutions. If these revolutions are spreading all over, they stop the revolution. They destroyed the revolution with their bombs and planes and tanks and all this. You don't make a revolution by bombing cities from the sky. You make revolution from the people in the cities, taking over the cities.
You started by saying that the best thing here was maybe the international character of this movement, how do we just put it simply? I mean, you're one person, everybody else we're all together making this. I know.
Yeah.
But how do we get this thing to become even more international?
I think we have to raise one very important question. We have the slogan, "We are the 99," and that's very good.
Well, that's a pretty good starting point.
That's a very good starting point. But we are not the 99% here on this square, and it's not to blame all this for not being enough. No, the question we have to put in the center of this movement is, how do we reach out so we can be the 99 to make big things like we saw in Tahrir Square. In Tahrir Square, it was not 10 or 15 or 30 people occupying. It was thousands and thousands, millions of people occupying, making strikes, occupation of factories. We have to do the same here, but it's not like going over one night. It's a process that we are starting.
And that's what everybody's doing, making signs and whatever they're doing here. There are all kinds of activities going on.
But we have to move this movement from it is not bad it is here, it's very good it's here, but we have to move it to the workplaces, we have to move it to the schools, to universities, and back to the squares. We have to make it more organic.
Hey, in 1968, I recall, I'm an old guy, yes. I recall that in France, the workers and the intellectuals got together and they occupied factories, workplaces in all of France.
Yeah. We need the same here.
That was a revolution.
We need our 68, but this time we want to win.
Right.
Last time.
We're gonna win. Yes, 99%. Okay, thanks a million.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.